Hi, welcome to the CSE Capstone Computing class. My name is Jose Vidal and I will be teaching the class this year. So I want to go over what the class is, how things work, and how everything is gonna work out this year. So the first thing you need to know is the class website is right here, capstone.csc.sc.edu. So just go there. All the information is already there for this year. So you can see everything that you need to do for the whole semester. Um, First thing you will see there is, I put in this list of what you need to do on the first week of classes. So basically, as you probably know, in the Capstone computer class, we're going to form teams of 4 or 5 students, and then each team is going to develop an app, some kind of software project. And that's it. So the first thing you need to do this week is watch my welcome video, which is this video. So you're doing good. The next thing is I want everybody to give me their GitHub username. So fill out this form right here. So just click on that and give me your email address and then your GitHub username. If you don't have an account, go ahead and create one. It's free. And as I get those in, I will be adding them to our GitHub organization and then to our discussion group also. So this semester we have the 490 Fall 19 discussion group in GitHub. So if you don't know, the way GitHub works is it has these organizations, and we have one called the SC Capstone organization. For this class, typically an organization is a company, but for our case, the organization is the class. And then within that organization, it has teams of people. So there's one team which is called 490 Fall 19, and that includes everybody who's in the class this semester, plus me and the 2 TAs. Right now it's just the 3 of us there, but we'll be adding you as people give me their GitHub usernames. So do that, and once you do that, then you can be part of the conversation, which you need to do. So you're required to keep up with this. Mostly, it's not gonna be much, but I'll post things here every now and then, just announcements and whatnot. So keep up with that. To do that automatically, just make sure that you watch it. So you click over here, make sure you're watching it, and then GitHub will send you emails if you're watching something, depending on your settings. So you can go over here to your profile here and then click settings, and then it's notifications, and just read over this. They have all kinds of options about when and which kinds of notifications you want to get. So just make sure you can set it to whatever you want, whatever works for you, whether you want emails or not. But you are required to keep up with this. There's also, like, if you go in the Play Store, on the App Store, there's all kinds of other apps you can download. A lot of them are free for giving you like messages in your phone whenever somebody notifies you, or desktop apps that will notify you on your desktop when there's a new thing happening in GitHub. I use like Gitify for the desktop and FastHub for my Android phone. So, but whatever works for you. So those are, do that, fill out the GitHub username form, and then you can start keeping up with our team discussion. The next thing you should do is read our syllabus. So I'm just going to go over that quickly here. Here is my contact information. So that's my name, my website, my email address, so you can email me anytime. We will answer that. Within GitHub, my username is Jose M. Vidal. So you can mention me. The way GitHub works is if you put username, then that person will get a notification that, hey, somebody mentioned you, and they can go look at that. If you don't mention me within GitHub, I probably won't read it, because there's so many repos and issues and stuff. So do that. This is my email address, and my office hours will be posted on my calendar, my actual office in Story 2231. And this is where we will be meeting as teams. So this is the 2 TAs, their GitHub accounts and email addresses. And so for meeting times, as you probably know, this class does not have a lecture. Instead, we will be meeting, I will be meeting with each team in my office, which is right there. I just mentioned that. So each team we'll set up a time, 30 minutes every other week, where the 4 or 5 of you will come to my office and we will talk about your progress, etc. And we'll discuss, any problems you might be having, any issues that come up, and, just figure out what needs to get done next. So like a little bit like just progress reports. So we will set that up obviously after we form the team. So first we have to form the teams of students. We do have a lab. There's a capstone laboratory located in the Story building in room 1210. Here's some photos of it. And it has a bunch of Macs and PCs and Linux stations. And this is only open to capstone students who are registered in the class. There's one of those. You got to put your ID against the reader, and it won't let you in unless you're registered for the class. So that means there will probably be machines available pretty much anytime. It's open 24/7. So it's great. We also have some phones and stuff that you can borrow if you're building an Android phone app, or you're building an iPhone app. You can borrow these. We also have some of those Echoes and Alexa devices that you can borrow. Again, if you're building those things, you can talk to Ryan about that. The room also has lockers. I don't have a photo of those. The room has these little lockers that you can use. They're combination lockers. So you can, again, talk to Ryan about using one of those lockers. They're useful if you have some hardware or something that your team needs to keep in a central location. You can keep it in the locker because it's locked. Like I said, everything is going to be on GitHub. That's our org, and I explained that a little bit more here, and this is our discussion. I explained that already. The next and more important thing is the team formation bit here. So, like I said, teams of 4 or 5 students will work together to develop an app. But there are two types of teams, right? We have the what I call startup teams, and then client teams. So this semester, most of them will be startup team. So in a startup team, basically you have to find, you come up with an idea, and you find 4 or 5 people total to work on it, and then you tell me. That's about it. I have to approve it, but mostly I will approve everything, right? Unless it's, obviously not software, right? It has to be a software project. But other than that, just find the people that like your idea, or find a group that you can work with, and come up with an idea, and then you can fill out the startup request form, and it's right here. So just fill that out. I just need the emails of everybody in your team. It has to be either 4 or 5 people, and come up with a name for your repo and a little short description of your app, what you plan to do. And when you do that, I will approve it, and that'll be that. That'll be your team. There's a client project. So another option, if you don't want to do that, we have these client project proposals. So this year I only have 9 right now. There might be 1 or 2 coming before you see this video. But not that many, because we have around, like I said, 160 students. So that's around 35 total teams, plus or minus. So this means that, 25 teams or so will have to be startup, and then, 9 will be client projects. So the way this will work is, you just don't, if you want to do one of the client projects, don't submit a startup, because then you will be in a startup. Just wait and just read over those client projects, and then at some point I will post a preferences over client projects form. So I will post this form that says which client project do you want to work in, and rate them 1, 2, 3, 4. Which, this is my favorite one, my second favorite one, and so forth. then I run a little program that tries to maximize happiness. So it tries to give everybody their first choice if you can, or their second, and so forth. So you're not guaranteed to get your first choice, but most of the time it works out. Most people get the first or second choice. So that's how that's gonna work. Either you do a startup team, most teams will be doing startup, or around 10 teams will be doing client projects. That's all explained here. Later on here is the grading breakdown for the class. So as you see, I have over here the milestones. So this refer to milestones. Go over here, the overview. So milestones are basically homeworks. So GitHub calls them milestones, so I'm using that terminology. But basically, these are things that you have to do, and they're already posted, all of them for this semester. So you can click on forming teams and see what it is that you have to do and by which date. The thing I want to mention here is they all have a due date, like this one, September 8th. So anytime September 8th, this means we will be grading it, September 9. And so some of them are a grading team, and some other have the grading individual. So what that means is when it says grading individual, that means that each person gets a possibly different grade. When it's a team, that means that there's one grade that we give to the team as a whole. So a lot of them will be team because it's a team project, so we just give a grade to the project itself. So, going back to grading over here, so that is, and then each one forms a percentage of your final grade. The other thing I want to talk about here is this personal contribution. You see is worth up to 100% of your final grade. So this addresses the issue of the team grades, right? Possible problems. So it's right here. Basically, I will be, at the end of the semester, I will be calculating your personal contribution for everybody. And so this will be based on these 4 things. There's a peer evaluation. So at the end of the semester, again, everybody in the team will submit a form that evaluates everybody in the team, including themselves. And I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look at your personal log. This is one of the milestones. I'm going to look at your Git commits, of course. And then I'm going to look at, my notes. So we have these weekly meetings where I keep track of everybody and attendance, participation, and whatever. So we'll be looking at that. And it's just, it's very rough. I'm only going to be doing I only do like satisfactory, poor, and unacceptable grades. So I'm not looking to really do fine-grained personal contribution evaluations. But if you don't do anything, if you don't show up, you're going to get an unacceptable personal contribution, which will mean you fail the class. If you don't do very, very little, and it's clear that you're not contributing to the team, you might get a poor personal contribution, which will then pull your grade lower than what it would otherwise be. So that is why this says, up to 100%. So if your personal contribution is unacceptable, you will get 0 and you will fail. So to prevent that, because we don't want that to happen, we have this firing of a team member section. So if you see there's somebody in your team who really hasn't been doing nothing or almost nothing, and you know that obviously we're going to find this out at the end of the semester when we look at through the contributions, they'll be 0 and they will fail the class. You should do a firing, or start a firing process. So basically, just come to me. You keep a record of what the team has done, which is mostly kept automatically for you via Git and GitHub. And then you come to me, you say, well, this particular person hasn't done anything, and we want to fire him. I'll say, okay, come up with 2 or 3 things for this person to do, and we'll give them 2 weeks to do it. And if they don't do it, then they'll get an F right there, and they'll be fired from the team and fired from the class. So that's why I call it a formal warning. So we'll get them a formal warning. And many times, and we've done this a couple of years now, this works to, get people to actually work. So they'll realize that, they have to do some work now, or they will fail the class and they'll do the work and actually not fail the class. Doesn't work every time, but sometimes they do fail. Sometimes people just choose to do other things than spend time on this class. So this class does require a lot of time. There's a lot of programming, and initially not so much, but initially there's a lot of other stuff you need to do with design and stuff. And then later on, there's a lot of programming, and it's very time consuming. So you need to have time to spend on it. Well, here's the academic integrity section. Please do read that. Most important in this class, GitHub. Your GitHub account is you, right? So you do not give anybody your GitHub password. You don't let anybody else use your GitHub account. You do not commit under anybody's GitHub or Git, email address, because that is considered the same as, cheating, or basically taking a test for somebody else's. So if you write code under somebody else's username, you push it, you pretend it's theirs. That's exactly the same as taking a test for them, and it will be treated the same. So we'll do the whole thing there. So don't do that. Just, use your account, stay with your account. Don't use anybody else's account. You'll be fine. And so there's some other stuff there. So that's the syllabus. Mostly just read all the other stuff, but I just went over the most important parts. Over here, well, going back to the home here. So I went through the syllabus. Also note that on Friday, August 23rd at 3:30 p.m. in Amaka Hall, we will have a little meeting. This will be our only meeting. Well, the first meeting. We'll have also at the end of the semester when we give the presentations. We might meet again. But this is just a meeting to, just get together and form startup teams. So if you're looking for a startup team or you're looking for people to join your team, this is a good way to do it face to face. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to have the people that have ideas. So if you have an idea for a startup, you can get up, talk for a few seconds. You say, this is my idea. Come talk to me. We'll do that. Probably just take a few minutes. Go through everybody that wants to do that, and then just break up, and then you can talk to each other. Just a way of just getting to form, know each other and form startup teams offline. So that's Friday, August 23rd at 3:30 p.m. in Amaka Hall. I'll be there, and also of course answer whatever questions if you have. I can do that there too. So yeah, once you do that, fill out the startup team request form, and then later on you can fill out the client project form. You can also just take a look at the client projects right now and see if there's some that you might want to do. Also, I have this deadlines page. So here are deadlines. I took all the various deadlines and just put them here in chronological order. So this will you can just use this to add this to your calendar. So milestones. I want to go over the milestones real quick. We have for this semester 490, you're going to be doing 1 through 11, right? These are all the milestones that you're going to be doing. So basically we have to form teams initially, and then we're going to do some design work here. And finally, we're going to start programming. We're going to do some research here where you start doing individual programming, learning your platform, and at the end of the semester, you will have to come up with a proof of concept and then present it and give a demo and a presentation. So go over those in more detail. So initially, form teams. Just form teams. Just watch this lecture. So form teams. The first thing you need to do by September 8th is form a team and have a first meeting. So here is what the things that you need to do in that first meeting, more or less, get coordinated and, get your repo set up. Well, I'll be creating it, but just, add the first pages to it. There's this personal log. This is an ongoing milestone. So basically, in your repo, you will create a web page, which is called your name log, and every week you can update that page with what you have been doing that week. Here's an example here. So just the date and what you did, and that's about it. So again, I will be using this for checking out your personal contribution or determining your personal contribution in the team, and it's also useful for the other team members to know what everybody's working on. It's also should be useful to you to keep track of what you have been doing. So just do that every week. Don't fail to do it. Then there's the research milestone, which is this is not due until October 14th, so it's due a little bit later, but something you want to get started early. And basically, this is do your research or learn your platform. So if you decide, your team decides we're going to build an Android app, you probably never built an Android app. So what you do is you have to go out and install Android Studio and watch all the videos and build a little hello world Android app. So just learn how to build Android apps by yourself. I mean, obviously you'll be working with your team, learning and doing stuff, but the deliverables is, I want everybody individually to show me that they know how to build an Android app, or, if you're doing Node and Express, you build a little app using Node, Express, and Mongo or whatever. And just to show that you can do it and you're using all the frameworks, all the libraries that your project will be using. So this is going to take some time, right? So you're learning and new technologies, and this is what you're going to be doing, in your job, right? All the time. So new technologies come up, new versions of the same old thing come up every year, and we have to keep up to it. We have to learn the new technologies and use them. So do it. Here's the deliverables for it. You have to create a little personal repo for yourself and show it to us and demonstrate that you got something to work. And so then we have some the description and personas. Milestone 4. So this is starting on the design. The first thing that you need to do design-wise is sort of come up with the description of your project. Just a high-level view of what is it, what's it going to do. The personas are your typical users. So these are some of my typical users. These are their names, and sort of stereotypical users, I guess, is better, because you want to cover like different types of users for your app. So just read this, watch the lectures. They'll give you more details on that. Then we have two design ones, a rough design and a detailed design. So here I'm talking about user interface design. So what is the thing going to look like? What is the app going to look like? The home page? What are the various pages going to look like? In the rough design, you're going to do this sort of in pencil and paper, just very roughly. This is just a general idea of what the pages are going to be and what the functionality is going to be. How are we going to achieve that functionality? So read that. Once the rough design asks you to try different things. Once you nail it, you're like, okay, we're going to definitely go with this way of doing it. You're going to do a detailed design where you actually use, there's all these diagramming tools like Pencil, Figma, Just in Mind, etc., where you can just draw user interface, drag and drop buttons. They're like basically little draw programs optimized for drawing user interfaces. So you're going to use one of those to draw like your major screens, put them together and say, this is what it's going to look like. So read that, again, watch the lectures, read those, get that done. And then there's the requirements milestone. Again, you should watch this lecture here. And before you do this, and the requirements are going to be it's basically the list of features that your app is going to implement, right? So something like this. It's going to do this, it's going to do this other thing, it's going to do this other thing. You can refer, of course, back to your design. So you can put a link back to an image to help explain. So, but typically, like one page might have various functionalities. So one page I can do a search, I can, click, I can, send an email or whatever. So each one of those functionalities will be a different point, bullet point. And basically these will become GitHub issues in your GitHub. So each one of these will be a to-do thing later on. So you have to do these. Also, I will be, approving this, right? So the idea is that you come up with these requirements, especially for startup teams. I want to make sure that it's complicated enough, right? So you have an app with enough complexity. So I have to approve them. Once I approve them, then you'll have to do them. So read that, and that's what you're gonna do. Architecture, you're gonna start thinking about developing, so you're gonna think about how you're actually going to implement this thing. And here is, you can read about what you have to provide. So this is just a very high level view of the major how everything is going to be architected together, the URLs, the various views, your database schema, etc. So more details right here. You can check it out. And then when we meet together, we'll discuss some of this. Then there's a source control. This is an individual grade. So by this time, we want to have started coding the proof of concept demo for the end of the semester. So this means that by this time, somebody has checked in. This is our first code base, right? So it checks that into GitHub. Everybody else pulls it, makes some changes, pushes it, and then does a merge commit. So I just want to make sure at this point that everybody can build your shared project, can commit code to it, can do merges on that. So you're fluent in GitHub, and your platform. You can build, push, you can do the whole thing. You don't have to have, the app doesn't have to do anything at this point. It's just basically the hello world, a simple setup app, but everybody can push, pull, build it, run it, do the whole thing. And so all you need to do at this point after this is actually write the code to do stuff, which you'll be doing then in between this milestone and the end of the semester. So sort of the second half of the semester is going to be just working off your proof of concept. So by the end of the semester, you'll have to have this proof of concept, which basically shows that you will be able to implement this app. So it has to be, your app at this point has to use all the software, all the libraries that you will be using in the final project in a significant way. So like I say here, if it's a game, it needs to have just everything, jumping and moving and sound, and all the graphics are there. And if you need any other kind of libraries, you're using those libraries. And of course, maybe it's just that's a very small game, just does one screen or does one little bit thing, that's fine. But you're using all the libraries, you're exercising everything. If it's a web application, you're deploying it, so you got that figured out, how to deploy to the web, and continue, multiple times. And yeah, and you have at least a little bit of the functionality. So you started also, actually implementing what the final app will be. So that's what you need to get done. Again, we'll talk more about this in our meetings. But that's your proof of concept that you need to get done. Your team needs to get done by the end of the semester. And then we will also have a presentation and demo of your app at that point. This will be very quick, just 5 minutes. Just, because it's just a proof of concept, it probably doesn't do much anyway. So that's that. The next thing, I just point out that over here are the lectures. So these lectures are just GitHub videos, some of them by me, some of them by other people, and you should watch these. They are linked, as you probably saw, from the milestones. So some of the milestones say, you should watch this before doing that. So do that. So, but yeah, if you need links directly to all of them, they're here. There's you should definitely watch the teamwork using GitHub issues. So you learn it. This one tells you how we use GitHub issues, specifically in this class, just because, I'm going to use like some special named labels and stuff. So do that one. There's design and stuff. And then there's just general Git and GitHub tutorials, which I did. And of course, there's tons of these in the web. So if you don't like mine, just Google Git and GitHub and you'll find a lot of other tutorials. And I also did one in web applications. This is obviously only if you're building a web app, not if you're not. And finally, over here, the student videos, you can check that out. These are all the videos from demos from previous years. So you can see, if you're looking for ideas for a startup project, you can see what people have done. Just click over there and there's a little YouTube videos of what people did last year. So you can look through those, see what people did then, and get some inspiration. So that's it.